There was no way they were going to find her. Not here by the creek where the ground was soft and brush grew thick along the bank. The path leading to this part of the woods was narrow and overgrown with weeds. Last summer, her cousin had gotten poison ivy on her ankle and it spread all the way up to her behind. That wasn't to mention her little brother's fear of spiders. The eight-legged creepers were as big as quarters. Last time they played here, one crawled onto his shirt and he ran all the way home screaming. Remembering, Mandy Weaver giggled. She was the best of the best when it came to hide and seek. Even when her older brother cheated while counting to 10, he rarely found her. She could hear him counting now as she sprinted down the path. She was barefoot today and her feet smacked the damp ground like clapping hands. At the curve she ducked beneath the branch of a gnarly oak tree, then made a beeline for the creek 10 yards away.
8,
He called out.
9, 10.
Mandy knew her brother was already barreling down the path. She didn't mind. She was a faster runner than her little brother. Surely he'd be caught first. The little guy picked terrible hiding places. No, she thought with satisfaction. There was no way her older brother would find her down here.
Ready or not, here I come,
Came his voice from what seemed like a mile away. Tongue sticking out in concentration, she ran past the big stump, the one with mushrooms growing out the side. At the sound of the trickling water, she slowed, glancing behind her, and listened for footsteps. No one coming yet. Breathless and giggling, she skidded down the incline on her heels. The creek was just ahead through the trees. At the big rock, she dodged left and hunkered down behind it. From a distance, she could hear her brother yelling.
I'm going to find you.
He called out.
This time you're going to be it until next week.
She was breathing hard, making too much noise, so she put her hand over her mouth and tried not to laugh. The air was still and humid, and Mandy was sweating like crazy beneath her dress. Her feet were filthy. There was mud on the hem of her dress. She was looking around, thinking she might put her feet in the creek to cool off, when she spotted the weird pile of dirt. It looked as if someone had been digging. She'd been here just a few days ago, and the mound hadn't been there. No one ever came back this way. Their farm was the only one around for miles.
You're the worst hider in the world,
Came her older brother's voice.
No fair.
Her little brother squealed.
You cheated. Did not.
Mandy could hear them arguing, but her attention was on that strange mound of earth. Who would be digging back here, and why? Buried treasure? A bag of money, maybe. Curious, she left her hiding place and walked along the path, taking in a second pile. Too much dirt for a mole. The little vermin were always messing up Mam's garden. Not quite right for a groundhog either. She studied the piled up earth. A few feet away, a straw hat lay upside down in the weeds as if someone had tossed it aside. It was the kind of hat her dad wore. Had someone dropped it? She looked around, vaguely troubled, but there was no one there. It was so quiet she could hear the flies buzzing. A lot of them. Too many. And that's when she spotted the boot. It was a work boot, lying on its side, a few feet away from the hat. Why would someone leave their hat and a boot all the way down here? Craning her neck, Mandy sidled closer. Something's sticking out of the boot. A stick? Some kind of cloth? It looked like the leg of a scarecrow her brother had put in the garden to keep out the crows. But why would anyone go through the trouble of burying a scarecrow down here by the creek? Her feet took her closer before she even realized she was going to move. Though she was sweating like crazy beneath her cap and dress, a chill quivered along her spine. Part of her didn't want to see any more. She could hear her heart pounding, feel the hard thump of blood in her head. Mandy stopped and looked down. She was standing on a low mound of freshly turned earth. Next to her foot, she saw something pale that was partially buried. The sweat went cold on her skin. Kneeling, she brushed at the dirt. Her tummy flip-flopped when her fingertips touched something rubbery and cold. She cocked her head, stared hard at it, certain her eyes were deceiving her. It looked like a hand. The skin was sticky-looking and covered with mud. Everything inside her went still. 100 flies buzzed, and suddenly the sound was deafening. This was no scarecrow, she realized, and suddenly she knew something bad had happened here. For the first time she smelled the same smell she remembered from last year when they found that dead buck in the woods. Horror sent her stumbling back so fast she fell in the weeds on her backside.
Eli!
She screamed her older brother's name as she scrambled to her feet.
Eli!
Hide and seek forgotten, she spun and ran as fast as she could to the trail in search of her brother. Visiting students at Painters Mill Elementary School is a tradition I've upheld annually since becoming chief of police almost 9 years ago. For the last 2 years, my partner in crime, Kip the cow, has accompanied me. Kip is an expert on school safety. The kids love him, and they actually listen to what he has to say. This morning, I'm standing next to the teacher's desk, trying not to imagine how profusely Officer Chuck Skidmore is sweating beneath the Kip the cow costume. The classroom smells of paper dust, industrial-strength pine cleaner, and 24 sweaty second graders who spent their morning recess playing outside in the sweltering late August heat. It's the first week of school, and the city pool is open for 1 more week. I can tell by the way the students' eyes slide repeatedly to the window that every single one of them is wishing they were there instead of here.
How many of you walk to school?
Skip's voice is muffled by the costume, but he's learned to speak loudly so the kids can hear him. When no one responds, I raise my hand and look out at our audience. Great question, Kip. Let's see a show of hands. A smattering of students raises their hands, a typical number for a small town community where most people live on farms or in rural areas and ride the bus.
And how many of you ride your bikes?
Kip the cow asks. A few hands drop and a couple of others go up. I glance at Kip. Do you have any safety tips for students who walk or ride their bikes to school?
I sure do,
he exclaims.
Did you know it's safer to walk or ride your bike if you're with a friend?
That's good to know. Do you have any other advice on how students can keep safe during the school year?
Kip the cow always has good advice for kids, Chief Burkholder.
Skid chuckles beneath the suit.
Here's an important one. If anyone bothers you while you're going to or from school, get away from that person as quickly as possible and tell your parents or your teacher.
Great tip. My cell phone vibrates against my hip. I glance down and see a text from Lois, my first shift dispatcher. The numbers 911 appear on the display, which is code for call immediately. Lois knows Skid and I are talking to the students this morning, so I know it's important. As unobtrusively as possible, I slip into the hall and hit the speed dial for the station. What's up? I ask.
Sorry to bother you, Chief,
says Lois.
I just heard from Glock. He took a call out on Sweet Potato Ridge Road. Apparently some Amish kids found a body.
A body? The muscles at the back of my neck tighten. Are you sure?
Glock sounded pretty certain.
Any idea who it is?
He didn't say.
Call Doc Coblentz, I tell her, referring to the Holmes County coroner. Tell him to stand by. The sheriff's office, too.
You got it.
I'm on my way.